Thank you so much to Squarespace for continuing to support my art channel. Hello, welcome to my channel. It's Cosmic Spectrum. I know this is different. If you're a regular viewer, this is my face and what I look like. I wanted to show you guys who you're dealing with because I know I don't do this all the time, and so a lot of you guys probably don't even know what I look like. And I thought it was a good time to just start showing my face, and that's about it. So this is hopefully going to be a thing going forward in my other videos. But yeah, if you're new here, I am Yana, Cosmic Spectrum also is my pen name, and I'm an independent illustrator, comic artist. Currently just started working on my comic series called Gloaming Veil. You can find the link to that in the description if you want to check it out. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you a flip through of my very first sketch collection that I self-published a little over 10 years ago. So that's kind of exciting for me. And I'll also be showing you some of the original artwork, like a sketchbook flip through sort of situation, even though there's no actual sketchbook, from around the same time, which is when I was in Sheridan for animation. So before we get to the flip through, I just wanted to let you guys know once more that currently I have pre-orders going on for a brand new sketch collection of my recent work, up for pre-orders in my shop, which is cosmicspectrum.art. You can also find all of that in the description below, and I hope you guys check it out. I'm super proud of this book. This is just the advanced copy that I got in the mail a couple of weeks ago. It looks fantastic, exactly how I wanted it to, and the quality of all the sketches, like all the printing and whatnot, is super high. Colors are perfect, whatever. Not gonna spend any more time talking about it, but yeah, please check it out, cosmicspectrum.art. And one last thing, if you like my content and you like my artwork and you want to see more about my projects and stuff like this, please consider subscribing to my channel, and it'll help me out a lot. So let's go. All right, let's get started. Here is the Carousel sketchbook that I mentioned, and it is my very first published or self-published little booklet that I did. And since it's out of print and I have no plans for bringing it back because it's so old and it's so small, I wanted to give you guys a flip through just to show you my sketches at that time, which was, I think, well, I believe it was like 2010 to 2013 probably, was around the time, like it says 2013 here. I have like the most vague memory of this, but I'm assuming the sketch collection is of those couple of years around that time. And that was around the time that I started out at Sheridan College for animation. So first of all, let's just take a look at the cover, which you can see my face in. Anyways, yeah, I still actually really like this cover illustration. I had slightly different aesthetic preferences back then, but for the most part, I was still super focused on line work. And I think for the most part, I also did digital artwork at that time. Like, I didn't really get much into traditional. I mean, I've had phases and stuff, but I think that was mostly a digital phase. So the first page is the line work version of the cover sketch, because I really liked it. I wanted to blow it up a little bit and show. I mean, look at this. So risque. Why did I make that decision? Who knows? Strange choices back then. But yeah, this is actually one of my original characters, and her name is Pels. And she's from a different story, so she's not from Gloaming Veil. But it's a little convoluted because I've had a few stories going back then, and they weren't resolved as they are now. And for the most part, Gloaming Veil is the resolved story, and I combined a couple of different stories into that one, and Pels sort of loosely was associated with one of them, but I'm not going to get into it. So this is a digital painting of Heijin. As you can see, this was obviously from a while ago, and I was definitely in an experimental stage, and so this is just a lineless painting, I believe. Something I really don't do a lot of at all. It's not really my favorite approach. So it was quite, I don't know. This is not something I would, like, I don't really like this illustration at this point, but, you know, it was a valiant effort to do something different. And I do think that the color scheme is kind of cool. It's weird because it's dark and yet it's kind of warm and bright, so that's interesting choice there. And then there's one more colored page in this sketch collection, which is this illustration of Heijin and Sok. And actually, I mean, obviously, look, I couldn't be bothered with the background details all that much, so it's super vague, but I really, really like this little snippet of Heijin in the background here. I think I, for once, really managed to capture exactly kind of the vibe that I was going for. Like, she does actually look pretty creepy in this one, but that's obviously part of it, and I still like this profile. Profiles are something I've had a lot of trouble with over the years. They're still kind of difficult for me, but once in a while, even from all the way back then, like, this was definitely a winner. Like, these are the type of facial profiles that I really like, so yeah. And then here's Sok. He looks fine, but overall, this illustration is a little bit underwhelming to me, but, you know, I put in quite a bit of effort into the guitar, so there's that too. Anyways, so here we've got Sok and Heijin chilling on a couch in the forest, which is their hangout spot. It's still a thing in the story, and at the time it was a little bit fresh for me when I was thinking about the story. This is, I believe, right after I decided to revamp and like rewrite the whole thing, and also had this idea of Heijin constantly wearing a sleeping mask whenever she gets bored, which is all the time, and it having eyes on it. I thought that was really funny. So yeah, still quite fond of the sketch, actually, even though it's a bit of a mess. Like, it's not super coherent, but it's still nice to look back on. I think it's a really, really nice vibe. And let's move on to the next couple of pages here. So it's a lot of these just to give you guys some context about what a lot of these drawings are. I was in Sheridan, probably first year. This looks like first year, I think. Anyways, and for animation, we had a ton of different classes, and one of them was layout, one of my favorite ones. And of course, being me and being obsessed with my stories and my characters, for the most part, I tried to squeeze my characters into any assignment that I possibly could get away with. And I think this was one of them. I think I had to like come up with some sort of scene to lay out with multiple, like a foreground, like whatever elements, I don't know. And I just had this random idea of Kim's in a shack. And so these are little things that are from this one story that I was really obsessed with at the time, which was tentatively titled Single Displacement for reasons I'm not going to get into. But it was like this this post-apocalyptic island story with a bunch of characters. Actually, a lot of them are repeating characters. So as some of you maybe know, Kim's is also in Gloamingvale / formerly known as It Fracture, and she is one of the main characters, or a major character that will just appear later on. But anyways, she was also in this story because it was kind of like an alternative universe, or an alternate universe is how I started with Single Displacement, and I just put all my characters into it under different circumstances and had like some gang stuff going on. But I was taking this seriously. Like, the story was pretty, like, honestly, I will say, like, even at the time, the story was probably more elaborate than It Fracture ever was, probably because I started working on it a little bit later on when my mind wasn't just super chaotic and jumping from thing to thing. But anyways, as you can see, this is Pel's and Kim's over here. I really like this costume design for Kim's. I think it's one of my favorites. She's not going to be wearing anything like this in Gloamingvale. Not that it really matters. Okay, so before I show you more sketches, let me just take a quick minute to tell you about this video's sponsor, which is Squarespace. So if I could go back in time, I would definitely host my online shop directly in Squarespace. Unfortunately, I set it up a while ago on a different platform, but you don't have to make the same mistake as I did. A feature that is so incredibly useful for an online shop owner is the integration of a Square Reader directly with your online shop. So inventory can be so tricky to keep track of when doing in-person shows, and I always have to count things and update my shop afterwards, and it's just so time consuming, and I always end up miscounting my inventory. But with Squarespace, you can hook up your Square Reader directly to the Squarespace app and keep track of your inventory while doing in-person sales. Needless to say, I also use Squarespace as a hub for all my other art business needs, my portfolio, etc. And it's been super easy to keep up with my portfolio site and keep everything nice and updated and looking beautiful. If you're looking for a platform to get going on your own art business dreams, you can go to squarespace.com and start experimenting with building your own portfolio site. See all the cool features Squarespace has to offer, and once you're ready for your website to go live, you can go to squarespace.com/cosmicspectrumart for 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. And now back to the video. There's some context to some of these, but for the most part, they were just like mood snippets from the single displacement story. And another character that will appear probably several times is this girl right here, and her name is Pickle, and she is best friends with Pels, and so I draw the two of them quite a bit. And these are actually charcoal sketches, I believe. I took photos of them. They were drawn on newsprint because at Sheridan College there's a lot of life drawing sessions, and sometimes I would just doodle on the newsprint in the breaks or after the class, and so that's some of these drawings. So they were quite big, and yeah, so I had to just take pictures of them and clean it up, which was actually not bad. Like, this looks pretty good. It looks like I scanned it, but I didn't. So, without lingering too long on every single page, this is just some more little illustrations of Kim's, and I wanted to point out, like, as you can see, I was pretty adventurous when it comes to style. So I tried out different proportions and slightly different facial features, which I think is pretty fun. I haven't done that in a long time, actually, because at Sheridan I had a lot of opportunities to experiment, and the style that I predominantly kind of defaulted to when I drew on my own was something like this, and it was a little bit more detailed, necessary for animation related stuff. So like, this would be a slightly more simplified version of this kind of stuff that I'll draw. And actually, looking back on, I think aesthetically I do prefer this slightly more coherent or cohesive design. And this is obviously Pels again. Looking at all this really makes me miss her. I haven't drawn her in a really long time, but she was kind of like, I was really stuck on her at that time, so there's a lot of sketches. I still really like this one. I remember I wanted to clean it up, but in like color digitally, but I never got around to it. And actually, just so you guys know, after we finished this flip through of Carousel, it's not very big, I do have a little pile prepared to show you some other art from around that time that's actually the originals, and some of the originals you see here, so that would be kind of cool to see side by side. But yeah, so these are actually my portfolio turnaround pieces of Pels. So I decided to, you know how when you go to animation school, you have to put together a portfolio for the application, and one of the tasks for the animation program was to do a turnaround of a character, and I picked my girl Pels, and so this is from my portfolio application. I think it was like a turnaround and a couple of action poses. So actually, funny enough, like, I didn't know that the turnaround was supposed to be like an actual static turnaround. I thought the point was to just show the character from different angles, and so her poses are slightly different. That's the explanation, because I didn't know that it was supposed to like function as an actual turnaround if you scan it in or whatever. So yeah, but well, still got in, so yeah. And these are a couple of action poses, pretty intense looking, but yeah, it was fun to do these. So I guess these were probably from like 2020, before I actually went to Sheridan, because they are from the portfolio. And so here are some more character sketches. Most of these are going to be character sketches, like my original characters, but there's a little bit more of different stuff later on. So these are more single displacement things. There was a whole gang situation where there were a couple of rivalry gangs on the island in the story, and this was the North, just like the main assholes that run the North gang. And this is so fun. I have such a soft spot for like the delinquent thing and gangs and whatnot. It's just really fun and always been super entertaining for me as a genre. And here's a little thing of Pels and Pickles just hanging out and shooting the shit. And here is, I think this one is a pose from a life drawing session. Also, oh, actually, this one was drawn in this black pencil that I really liked at the time. Sometimes I used it on newsprint, and that was like a combo that I really enjoyed. I will actually show you some of that because I have it in the pile. But yeah, just Pickle from the back. I noticed that one of the things from this era of drawing for me, with life drawing, it's actually quite hard to get the proportions. I think for whatever reason, I tended to really draw short legs around that time. Or maybe it's because actual human legs are not as proportionally long for most people as I like to draw. So looking back, like, they look really short to me, but you know, I don't remember what the model looked like exactly, so it's possible that those were just her proportions. And one thing that sometimes makes me really laugh when I look back at these sketches is there's some weird stuff going on with the faces, for sure. Like this one, my god, it looks like they're wearing mouth guards. It's pretty funny, but anyways, I got nothing else to say about that other than I don't really like looking at it. So yeah, these are just, again, some characters from Single Displacement. And so just more of that here again. And I really love this character of mine. Her name is Wendy. I haven't drawn her in a really long time as well, but she's one of my favorites for sure. And this was so fun for me to draw. Super just indulgent sketches. And I do have the originals in the pile to the side over there, so I will show them to you guys. And these are just some little drawings of my mains. Pillow, Kim's, Wendy, Pickle, and those are just so cute. I was so into the story at the time. Yeah, it was a good time. Anyways, so these are just some more sketches, lots of random things, and now we get to a little bit of id fracture / gloaming veil. And okay, these, I did like a bunch of, just a little series of these sketches of all the main characters from Gloaming Veil / id fracture at the time. And I do still like them, but the proportions are really weird. Like, I noticed that a lot of the proportions in these sketches are kind of strange. And, I suppose it was, like, especially this one. My god, well, like, what is with this pose, first of all? And second of all, why is her head so gigantic? I don't know. At that time, I think I was really just in a mood for taking a lot of risks when it comes to trying to draw weird poses that I have no idea like what the decision-making process was exactly. It was more like I just wanted to draw something interesting and give myself some sort of challenge, I guess. Like with this one, obviously that's a strange angle, but I do like this one quite a bit. Like, I would say this one actually even really holds up proportionally. Like, his face looks very much like how I would draw it now, which is great. Unlike this, which kind of falls apart, but you know, not everything is going to be a good drawing. Some of them are duds. And also, yeah, there's some weird stuff going on with Sock here as well. Not a huge fan of this one in the face, but the rest of it is all right, you know. It's fine. Good to look back on. And again, with the stylistic experimentation, like, these obviously are so very different, the three things you see on this page. And actually, like I said, sometimes I would draw slightly more simplified versions, like this one right here of Hey Jin, and I really like this. I do tend to find this way more appealing stylistically than something like that, which is like super detailed, too many folds that are not even great looking, and just everything kind of gets lost in this mess of detail, whereas this is way more coherent and a solid silhouette. And I really like the just the overall look of something like this, and also proportionally makes more sense too. Yeah, and this is another charcoal drawing of, or Conte or whatever it was that I used at the time, of Windy. And this is from an assignment where I don't remember exactly what the assignment was, but this character, his name is Clyde? Yes, Clyde. And he is one of the single displacement characters as well. He also has a twin, but I chose him for one of these assignments. And yeah, these were really fun to look at too. More animation-y, as you can see. I believe I drew these with a blue pencil, actually, and I did change the color later when I was scanning all the stuff in. And he was the... Was this class? I don't remember their... I think it was, yes. Anyways, yeah, he was like the love interest for Pels, and they had like a toxic relationship. A bad breakup. That was part of the story. And then she found someone else. So, anyways, this is just a super moody, random drawing from one of my sketchbooks. Or actually, at the time, I believe I drew mostly on loose paper, not sketchbooks. And this was a ballpoint pen page, which is fun. So sometimes I did these super textured, they were kind of meditative drawings almost, just to relax. I don't do much of that anymore these days. I think these days everything I draw is very focused, but I really like the raw kind of emotive quality to this page. Don't see a whole lot of that in random sketchbook pages anymore. Maybe something I should bring back. But yeah, and this is the sketch of the cover illustration, which I did with pencil on paper. So yeah, my process was always, always involved like quite a bit of back and forth for the most part. And so this is the sketch. I think I had like a real thing for drawing really thin, like chicken legs at the bottom at the time, which is kind of funny. But yeah, this is another assignment, I believe, some sort of Western themed like character design assignment, which was a lot of fun for me. But yeah, I didn't really like designing random characters. Didn't love it, especially when it was based on something really vague and the story didn't have like a whole lot of depth when it comes to describing what the characters are all about. So this was a bit of a throwaway thing. Did not go through any iterations for these characters. This was like a one-time drawing situation where I just drew it and was done with it. That's how I approached most of my assignments. Yeah, anyways, moving on. This was another assignment. I think actually I included some of this stuff in Prism, my last art book with 3D Total. It was like a character age up timeline assignment. So these are the sketches for that. And I think until the end of this book, it's gonna be these commissions that I was doing at the time. So I wasn't doing that much work outside of just being at Sheridan doing the homework and whatnot and studying. But I did have some recurring commissions. And actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I did do quite a bit of commissions back then. Had to sustain myself somehow monetarily. But anyways, this was a really fun series of commissions that I did for somebody who asked me to design a character based on a quick description, and then he commissioned me to just draw her in a bunch of interesting scenario poses. Like in this one, he commissioned 3, I think, things of her falling. And I think he did give descriptions, like in one she's happy, in another she's like flustered, in another she's fighting for her life. So it was stuff like that. Like, this was actually so fun for me because it was just enough description to really give me something to work with, but otherwise I obviously had freedom for the pose and the angle and whatnot. And I really enjoyed these. Also gave me a great opportunity to study anatomy, just drawing limbs and stuff, and some of these I had so much fun. Like this one, I still really like this drawing. I love this hand arm. I think it's super elegant. I love drawing things like that. And yeah, I like drawing a little bit of like a... I know that this is not like the most natural hand pose, but I just really like something about it, you know what I mean? Anyways, yeah, and a couple more over here. So fun. Good times. Oh yeah, this is another underwater. I think I really enjoyed the water set. Like this one was so much fun. And I think also these did help me figure out the facial proportions that I like. So they're a little bit wonky still, like as you can see, they're kind of different in some of these illustrations, but like for instance this one, like these are the basic facial feature proportions that I still use now. So this is like me kind of finding the right ratio that I like. And yeah, so just a few more of the same character over here. Super fun to look back on. Nice legs. I like these legs. Yeah, actually, so I could really credit to stuff like that really helping me out, how to learn, do random interesting poses. And I should also mention that these are all no reference poses, so it's just something I would come up with on the spot, and that was a really excellent exercise. So if you're learning anatomy and if you're kind of trying to transition from drawing from life using references to just being able to draw from your head, I would highly recommend something like this. Just pick a character, pick a scenario, has some description in your head but not super specific, and just try to do something like this. I think I really learned a lot from those. Yeah, it was super fun. And I think this was some sort of commission. I don't know if this counts as nudity. Not really, whatever. I really like this one pose especially. It's quite nice to look at. And I think I did paint this afterwards in Photoshop. And yeah, so I did do quite a few commissions back then to sustain my life. And right at the end here, I think this is basically it. Yeah, just a couple of pages left in this book. This is just a little collection of life drawings, and my favorite part of life drawing sessions at Sheridan were the costume ones, especially when the costume was something simple but the story beats in the poses were super clear. Like in this one, it's obviously some sort of secretary or working woman, and there are a bunch of just cute things that are easy to imagine as part of her life. And I just loved this life drawing session. It was so fun for me. And I also think I did include some of these in the timeline section in my recent Prism art book with 3D Total. So yeah, now we're just approaching the last page over here. And this is just a few more life drawings. And again, these were done with Conte or charcoal, one of those things, on big pieces of newsprint. So these are quite tiny compared to their actual size in real life. And I squeezed in this little doodle that I did in between based on a pose that the model took sometime during the session. And yeah, this was essentially my anatomy learning phase, and it was a lot of fun and extraordinarily helpful. And thus we come to the end of this little sketch collection. Let me know what you think about it. I'm pretty excited to share it. I guess it was a long time coming. This is something I wanted to do for a while because I know that it has been out of print for a while. Obviously this whole time, like 10 years or however long it's been at this point. And yeah, I think it would be nice. I thought it would be nice to show you guys the contents. And so let's just quickly move on to the pile of art that I've prepared from the similar time when I was in Sheridan. And so you might recognize some of these. I'll go a little bit faster, but yeah, these are the originals. from a sketchbook that I had at the time. I really liked using a blue under pencil, or sometimes pink. These color erase pencils that are really popular with the animation students, especially the blue. So yeah, it was that pencil for the under sketch, and for the more finished, I guess, clarification of these, I used a mechanical pencil. So I'm still kind of a fan of the H lead because it's not super dark and smudgy and allows to make, I think, thinner lines or something. I was really into it, especially on really smooth, thin paper like this. So I still kind of like that combination. I said I would go fast. I'm going kind of slow, but okay, I'll speed it up. So there's another page from that time. It was also in the sketchbook. So I hope it's kind of cool and neat to see these things in their original format, and some things that didn't make it in. Just like character doodles I did all the time. It's another one of those. And look at this, a relic from the past. I charged $25 for a full body sketch and $15 for a half body. Golden days of underpricing oneself, but didn't do that for very long. And these were in person, so I did those really quick at conventions, I think, is where that's from. But anywho, there's another one of those sketches that were in. Oh, and here's another one. I wonder why I didn't include this. This is really cute of them just hanging out on the street. But I guess I thought it was like too boring and simple or something to put into the sketchbook. And here is this. And also had another sketch right here with the gang from Gloamingvale / It Fracture at the time. And I think I did scan this in and clean it up into like a big colored illustration, so that was fun. And these are some extras. So there's Pickle and Pals and Ink. I really like this one still. It's so cute. It's just so fun. Yeah, I think I probably did that after I put out or after I printed the Carousel sketchbook, which is why this does not appear in there. And at that point, I was already kind of into ink, so I have a lot more ink drawings from that era, but obviously not in this pile. And so here's some more of these sketches. Yeah, I believe these all were also after the fact, so done on this newsprint that I would just cut down to these smaller pages. And I was obsessed with this black pencil. It was a pretty hard pencil, so it wasn't super smudgy, and it was pitch black, so it didn't have the shine like graphite does, which is why I was obsessed with it for a little while. And this combination of newsprint with this pencil was my go-to thing for a few months. And so that's a couple of pages from that time. These are just some random sketches that I did, and this was like the first version of my character suite. Actually, what happened was a little bit of a story, but this was just a character that I was planning to put into It Fracture / Gloamingvale, but then I thought her role was just kind of redundant, and then I was redesigning these two characters, Sweet and Zero, that I had beforehand, and I overhauled them completely, so they're like, what they are now is nothing like they were before. And I think Sweet's design just ended up being whatever new thing I had in mind kind of merged with this girl. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty different. The only thing I think I kept was the two beauty marks under the eyes and like the hairstyle preference for wearing a headband. Yeah. And here's another just session of pretty mindless sort of morning, afternoon doodles, September 18th, 2014. So yeah, that was after the Carousel book. And I actually quite like this one still. I believe for these, I was looking at fashion photography. So you can see they look a little bit different from my other art. Probably because I was drawing with a reference, except for that, obviously. But yeah, this was fun. I once in a while like to do something like this. And it still holds up pretty well to me. It's interesting considering the fact that a lot of the art from that era now I don't like looking at because it just looks kind of clunky to me, but interesting how some of it holds up so well after all these years. Yeah, and these are just some more assignment things from school, just a character turnaround design. I'm not gonna get too much into it. I thought it would be cool to show these to you guys because I don't think I've really included them anywhere else, and they're so different, so you can really see how much stylistic range I experimented with at the time when I was at school. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, none of this obviously really appealed to me in the end, so I just went back to whatever I was doing before, but honing in on it more closely. Yeah, I really like these. I thought this was so cute. Just a cute little character. This was some sort of viz dev project where I had to pick a story and just do the character designs and put together some sort of portfolio situation. And I believe this was just like my last effort at trying to get into the animation industry, or like, it's kind of hard to explain. Yeah, so I think this was in second year, and I really kind of got caught in this wave of like wanting to get an internship with a big animation company and like just all that. And I mean, I didn't put that much effort into the portfolio. I could have definitely put a lot more effort into it. I think I kind of did it within like a week and just slapped it together. But in any case, I did not get any internships from the couple of major studios that I applied to. But the only other place I applied to for an internship that time was some mobile game, like 2 mobile game studios where they were paid, and that was the appealing factor for me. And I got into those, and after that, I just like didn't really have any, and I realized I never really had any interest in working for animation studios anyways, so I totally gave up on that, which is great. I'm glad I realized it kind of super early on, because I ended up going my own way afterwards anyway, so that's a long story for another time. But yeah, these are just some more life drawing sessions, and I wanted to show you these because they're different, as in I was already kind of approaching the session from a stylized... That's my stomach, and I really should eat. It's kind of early, but anyways, excuse those noises in the background of my stomach just expressing indignation at not having been fed yet. Yeah, so I approached these stylized right off the bat, and that is the most fun way to do life drawing, costume life drawing, and I kind of really miss it too. Should really do more stuff like this, because it can be quite boring to just try to replicate what you see like in a semi-realistic type of way, so this was way more fun. And this was all one session, so as you can see, all these characters are wearing the same outfit. It's just for fun. I was trying to draw different characters from using the same reference as an in-person model. So there's a couple of older ladies and like a young girl and like a villain type of characters. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And this was another one of those sessions, and just a couple more things to show you guys. We're almost done here with this flip through. This was a super fun in-person. This wasn't at school. I think this is actually after I graduated, maybe not. Anyways, it was a meetup. It was called Tunes on Tap, this weekly costume life drawing thing that was in some bar in Toronto, downtown Toronto. I wonder if they still do it, because it was a lot of fun. I went to a few of those, and these are just some drawings from this Merida themed costume session. It was so fun. I loved it, and especially this. Look how cute, little cutie. Anyways, and I don't know what this was doing in the pile, but this is also some life drawings where I was really pushing the stylistic aspect of it. And these are also great to look at. I especially like this one a lot with the shapes. Yeah. So this is it for this pile. I hope you guys enjoyed looking at these. And okay, so we're at the end of the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed my flip through of Carousel. It was really fun for me to look back on it. Definitely jogged a lot of memories from my college days, so that's kind of fun. And yeah, let me know what you thought about it down below. And just before I go, I wanted to again mention real quick about the pre-orders of my new sketch collection, Halcyon Days. So please check it out in my shop, which is cosmicspectrum.art. And I will see you again very soon. Bye!